Rain hits the windshield like small stones, and you can't stop watching her through the glass. The woman crossing the parking lot has no umbrella. Her shoes, the good ones, the only good ones, you'd better already soaked through, and each step she takes looks like it costs her something. A folder is pressed against her chest, tucked under her coat, protected the way you'd shield a newborn from the cold. Everything else about her is exposed to the storm, but not that folder. You are Cassius Whitfield, and you own the building she's walking toward. 6 miles. That's what the receptionist told you, after she'd taken the woman's soaked coat and offered her a towel that got politely declined. 6 miles, on foot, because her car had died Tuesday night, and she didn't have anyone left to call for a ride. She could have rescheduled. The email confirming her interview time had rescheduling instructions built right into it. Plain as day, 2 clicks away. She didn't take it. She walked. You don't know her name yet. You only know she's 40 minutes early for a 9 o'clock interview. That, half your management team already decided, over coffee this morning, wasn't worth having. Too many gaps in the resume. 2 years unaccounted for. HR flagged it as a soft pass code for don't bother. We have better candidates, ones without complications. But you're still sitting in your car. Something about the way she walks makes you stay. Her name, you'll learn in a few minutes, is Ottoline Bellwether, and there is nothing soft about the way she carries herself, even though her whole body is trembling from the cold. She grew up 2 counties over from where you're parked now, in a town so small, it doesn't get its own exit on the interstate. Just a sign that says next services. 40 miles. Her mother worked the register at a hardware store for 31 years. Her father left before Ottoline turned 6, and she doesn't talk about him. Not because it still hurts, though it does, but because talking about a man who chose to disappear feels like giving him more room in her life than he ever earned. You watch her push through the glass doors. You watch the wind try to follow her in and fail. Here's what you don't know yet. Sitting there with your engine idling and your coffee going cold in the cuffholder. 3 years ago, Ottoline had a job, a good one, regional coordinator for a nonprofit that placed veterans into transitional housing. She was good at it, the kind of good that gets you promoted twice in 18 months. Then her son Emeric got sick. 6 years old, fever that wouldn't break. A hospital stay that turned into 6 hospital stays. A diagnosis that took the floor out from under her whole life and never quite gave it back. Leukemia. The word still catches in her throat when she has to say it out loud, like it's got teeth. She quit. Not because she wanted to, because there was no version of her life where she could sit in a conference room reviewing housing applications, while her son was 3 states away in an oncology ward, more needles in his arm than birthdays behind him. She sold the car she loved, kept the one that was already dying. She moved into her mother's spare room. She learned how to make $30 stretch across a week of groceries and how to smile at a 6-year-old so he wouldn't see her falling apart in the hospital bathroom 20 minutes earlier. Emeric is 9 now. He's in remission, 18 months clean, milestone the doctors are cautiously, carefully optimistic about. And Ottoline has spent every day since his diagnosis trying to climb back into a version of her life that doesn't exist anymore. 2 years is a long time to be gone from an industry that moves fast and forgets faster. She sent out 143 applications. She keeps count in a notebook, the way some people keep count of steps or calories. 143 attempts to explain a gap in her resume that she refuses to be ashamed of, no matter how many form letter rejections tell her, in their bloodless corporate language, that she should be. This is application 144. Inside, she's sitting in your lobby now, and she's doing the thing she always does before something important. She's running her thumb along a thin white scar on the inside of her wrist, a childhood mark from falling off her bike outside the hardware store where her mother worked. It's not a nervous habit, exactly. It's more like a small anchor, something real to hold on to when the rest of the moment feels like it might slip away from her. You come in through the side entrance. Nobody in the lobby recognizes you. most of your employees have only seen your photo on the company intranet. And even that photo is 4 years old, from back when you still let the marketing team talk you into headshots. You take the stairwell instead of the elevator, and you tell the head of HR, sharp, no-nonsense woman named Verlene Ashworth, that you want to sit in on the 9 o'clock. Verlene's eyebrows go up half an inch. In 11 years working for you, you've sat in on exactly 2 interviews. Both times, the company ended up building entire new departments around the people you insisted on hiring. The single mom, Verlene asks, glancing at her tablet. The one with the 2-year gap, the one who walks 6 miles in the rain, you say. Verlene doesn't ask how you know that. She's learned not to ask. In the conference room, Ottoline sits with her back straight and her hands folded, the picture of composure, except for the faint chattering of her teeth that she's trying very hard to control. Her hair is damp at the edges. No matter how much she patted it down in the bathroom mirror, there's a run in her tights that she noticed on the walk over and decided, with the calm resignation of someone who has survived worse, that she simply could not afford to care about anymore. The interviewer across from her, a mid-level manager named Percival Duckworth, 34, ambitious, the kind of man who reads self-help books about executive presence on his lunch break, glances at his notes and asks the question she's been waiting for, the one she's rehearsed and answered to so many times it almost doesn't hurt anymore. I see a 2-year gap here. Can you walk me through that? And this is the moment. This is always the moment where most interviewers' eyes glaze over halfway through her answer, where she watches them mentally cross her name off a list before she's even finished the sentence. Ottoline takes a breath. My son was diagnosed with leukemia when he was 6. I left my job to care for him full-time through treatment. He's in remission now, 18 months and counting, and I'm ready to bring everything I have back into this field. Percival nods the way people nod when they're not really listening, already reaching for his next question, already halfway to the rejection email he'll send this afternoon. That's when you speak for the first time. What did you learn, you ask, from the seat at the end of the table, in those 2 years, that you couldn't have learned in an office? Every head turns. Percival's face does something complicated: recognition, panic, the particular horror of realizing the owner of the company has been sitting 6 feet away from him for the last 4 minutes without introducing himself. But Ottoline doesn't flinch. She looks directly at you, and something in her expression shifts. Not surprise, not really. More like she's finally being asked a question that deserves an honest answer. I learned how to fight for something when the system is built to wear you down, she says. I learned how to read a room full of doctors and figure out which ones were telling me the truth and which ones were managing my expectations. I learned how to advocate, really advocate, not just fill out forms for someone who couldn't advocate for himself. And I learned that I am much harder to break than I thought I was. Nobody in the room says anything for a moment. Outside, the rain keeps coming down against the windows, steady as a heartbeat. That's not a gap, you say quietly. That's a resume. Percival clears his throat, tries to recover some control of the room. Of course, we'd still need to discuss the logistics. Full-time availability, given. Given what? Ottoline asks, and there's an edge in her voice now, controlled but unmistakable. Given that I'm a mother, I walked 6 miles in the rain this morning because I wanted this job badly, enough to show up on time even without a car. I don't think you're going to find a logistics problem with me, Mr. Duckworth. I think you're going to find a problem with anyone who assumes a hard year makes a person less capable instead of more. You feel something settle in your chest, quiet and certain, the way you used to feel 22 years ago when you hired your first real employee out of a garage that barely qualified as an office. This is the feeling of recognizing something rare. Here's what almost nobody in that room knows, except for you, and in a much more painful way, Ottoline herself. This interview is not just application 144. It is the last one she can afford to lose. Her mother's spare room comes with rent now, small, but real, since her mother's hours got cut at the hardware store. Americ's follow-up scans are covered by insurance. Mostly, except for the parts that never seem to be mostly. And there's a bill on her kitchen table with a number on it that keeps her up some nights doing math that never quite balances. She has $11 in her checking account and a decision to make about whether groceries or the electric bill wins this week. She hasn't told anyone that. Not her mate, not her son, not the interviewer across the table. Pride is one of the only things she has left that nobody can take from her, and she guards it the way she guards that folder against her chest. You don't know the exact number on that bill, but you know enough. You know the shape of that kind of desperation, because you lived a version of it once. A long time ago, before any of this. The building, the company, the name on the door existed. Your own mother worked 2 jobs, so you could finish community college. You remember what it felt like to walk into interviews with a hole in your shoe and pray nobody looked down. You end the interview 20 minutes later. Ottoline shakes everyone's hand, including yours, and her grip is firm even though her fingers are still cold from the rain. She thanks Verline. She thanks Percival, who can barely meet her eyes now. She walks back out through the lobby with the same straight-backed composure she walked in with, folder tucked back under her coat. And you watch her go without a word about what happens next, because you're not the kind of man who makes promises he hasn't decided to keep yet. Except you have decided. You decided somewhere around the 6-mile mark. What Ottoline doesn't know, what she won't know for another 6 hours, is that after she leaves, you sit in that conference room a long time with Verline, going over not whether to hire her, but how. Not a junior coordinator role, the one she applied for, the one that would barely cover her mother's rent increase. Something bigger, something that uses everything she just told you she learned in that hospital: the advocacy, the system navigation, the refusal to break. You tell Verline to draft an offer for a new position, one that doesn't officially exist yet on your organizational chart. Director of Family Support Services, a role built to help other employees navigate exactly the kind of crisis Ottoline just survived. Triple the salary she was applying for, full benefits, effective immediately, no waiting period, which matters more than anyone in that room fully understands. Because you already quietly asked Verline to check, and Americ's next round of follow-up scans is in 9 days. 6 miles back the way she came, because the return bus doesn't run until 3, and she has exactly $4 in cash left. And pride mixed with practicality once again wins out over comfort. She doesn't cry on the walk, not because she isn't close to it, but because she's learned that crying while you still have 3 more miles to go doesn't get you home any faster. She gets back to her mother's house a little after noon, soaked through for the 2nd time that day, and finds Americ doing homework at the kitchen table, tongue poking out the side of his mouth in concentration, the way it always does over long division. He looks up at her, takes in the state of her, dripping, exhausted, hollow-eyed in a way he's learned to read since the hospital. And he doesn't ask how the interview went. He just gets up, wraps his skinny arms around her waist, and holds on. "You'll get the next one, Mom," he says, muffled against her coat. She almost breaks then. Almost. She holds it together long enough to make him a grilled cheese sandwich, because that's what 9-year-olds need after a long morning of homework, regardless of what's happening in the adult world around them. Long enough to sit down at the table across from him and pretend one more time that everything is fine. Her phone rings at 4:52 that afternoon. She almost doesn't answer it. It's an unknown number, and unknown numbers have mostly meant robocalls and, once, a hospital billing department. Neither category she has energy left for today. But something makes her pick up. "Miss Bellwether." The voice is Verline's, professional and warm. "I'm calling from Whitfield Corporate Solutions. Is now a good time?" Ottoline sits down slowly at the kitchen table. Americ watches her face from across the room, his math homework forgotten. Verline walks her through it: the position, the title, the salary number. That makes Ottoline actually pull the phone away from her ear for a second, certain she misheard. The full benefits. The start date. Flexible. Whatever works for your family, Verlene says, and Ottoline has to press her hand flat against the table because the room has started to tilt slightly. The good kind of dizzy, the kind she hasn't felt in longer than she can remember. Can I ask, Ottoline says, when she trusts her voice again. Why? I have to know why. There's a pause on the line, and then Verlene says, Mr. Whitfield asked me to tell you something. If you asked, he said, anyone who walks 6 miles in the rain for a chance doesn't need luck. She needs someone willing to bet on her. He said you'd understand what that means. Ottoline doesn't understand it fully, not yet. Not until 3 weeks later, when she's settling into her new office, and Verlene mentions, almost offhand, that Mr. Whitfield's mother worked 2 jobs to put him through school, that he remembers exactly what it felt like to be underestimated by people who never bothered to ask the right questions. Not until Ottoline realizes that the man at the end of the conference table, the one who asked her the only question that mattered, had been sitting in his car, in the rain that morning too, watching her walk the last stretch across the parking lot, deciding something about her before she ever said a word. She cries that night, finally, after Emmerich is asleep, sitting on the edge of her narrow bed in her mother's spare room, not from sadness, from the particular, overwhelming relief of a fight that has, for the first time in 3 years, tipped slightly in her favor. 6 months later, Ottoline Bellwether stands in front of a small conference room of her own. Whitfield Corporate Solutions has built out an entire department around the framework she designed. A support system for employees navigating medical crises, caregiving emergencies, the kind of quiet catastrophes that don't show up on a resume, but reshape a person's whole life. She's hired 3 people onto her team. One of them, a soft-spoken man named Thaddeus Meriwether, has a sum with an 18-month gap that most companies would have filed straight into the rejection pile. She didn't need to think twice. Emmerich comes to visit the office sometimes after school now, sitting quietly in the corner of her office, doing his homework, occasionally glancing up at the framed photo on her desk. Not a photo of an award or a milestone, but a photo of a pair of rain-soaked shoes she kept, the ones she wore that morning, sitting by the front door of what is now, finally, their own apartment. Cassius Whitfield still parks in the same spot most mornings, and some days, if you asked him, he'd tell you, he still glances toward the front doors of the building around 8:40, half expecting to see someone else out there fighting through weather they shouldn't have to fight through, carrying something precious pressed against their chest, refusing to let the storm decide what they're capable of, because sometimes the difference between someone's whole life falling apart and someone's whole life finally beginning again isn't luck. It's someone willing to watch a little longer than they had to, someone willing to ask one more question than the room expected, someone willing to bet quietly, without fanfare, without needing credit for it on a person the rest of the world had already stopped looking at. 6 miles in the rain, that's all it took for the right person to finally see her.
Stories like this remind us that every person we pass by might be fighting a battle we know nothing about. If this story touched your heart the way it touched mine, hit that subscribe button and let's keep sharing stories that remind us what real kindness looks like.